A few years ago at this point, Nintendo releases Miitopia for the Switch, a 3DS game that got a huge graphical update and new content on Switch. It was amazing, but why Miitopia? Miitopia is an interesting game to port. I feel like a lot of other games would have appreciated the facelift more, but here we are. So I decided to go over some games I think would work on Switch just as well or even better than Miitopia. Tomodachi Life is a game much like Miitopia. It's a wacky Mii game, and while I would much prefer a sequel to release on Switch, I feel like an enhanced port could do a lot of good for the game. Tomodachi Life was just a really fun game to mess around in. You could create Knuckles the Echidna, have them marry God himself, and make them sing together and have a baby, all with Mii's. See, Miitopia on Switch basically created a whole new Mii maker, and it's one of the most in-depth and amazing character creators out there. It's amazing what people can create with this thing, so giving it to a Tomodachi Life game would literally be a dream come true. You can also add a few more features to the game, add gay marriage options because that would be based as hell, and honestly I think I would be a day one buyer. Honestly, another game that would be a day one buy for me is a remastered version of Kid Icarus Uprising. Kid Icarus Uprising is one of my favorite games of all time on the 3DS, and while yes, it's still really good on the console, the controls are a little wonky. Using the touchscreen to aim shots in the third-person shooter just doesn't work the best. It's definitely serviceable, but wouldn't it be better if you could use a stick? Or even better, gyro controls? I feel Kid Icarus Uprising with gyro controls would literally be perfect. Nintendo's already shown how well they work for aiming in games like Breath of the Wild, so I think this would be amazing. I also think the game would look gorgeous in HD, and having the amazing dialogue come out of my TV speakers instead of my 3DS speakers would be a great thing as well. Whenever I hear something come out of my 3DS, I think it's dying. With Capcom releasing the Ace Attorney trilogy and the Grace Ace Attorney Chronicles on Switch, I feel modern remasters of the 3DS games would be really cool. I would say more, but everyone told me to give up. Let's talk about some games that really shouldn't count for this, but I'm including anyway. Rayman 3D and Rayman Legends, Rayman 3D being a port of Rayman 2. I just want more Rayman content on Switch. Hopefully a remastered collection of 1, 2, and 3 and a modern port of Legends come in the future. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. I know Team Sonic Racing is already on Switch, but Transformed is just better. The 3DS actually had quite a few remakes on it, many Mario and Zelda remakes specifically. I'd like a double pack of Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D, changing the 3D to HD and adding some small improvements to the game, like camera control in Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time 3D is the definitive way to play the game in my opinion, and while Majora's Mask 3D is much more arguable, I still think it's a pretty solid version. The Mario RPG remake should have been on Switch in the first place, same with the Luigi's Mansion remake. Metroid Samus Returns is a great game that's held back a bit by its touchscreen stuff, but reworking it on Switch to not need to touch the bottom screen, please and thank you. Fire Emblem got a remake on here, Echoes Shadows of Valentia, and while I haven't played it, I just kinda want all 3DS Fire Emblems on Switch. An enhanced port of Fates would be great, having all the campaigns in one version like the special edition that released, and Awakening is just an amazing game. Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World is neat, and so is Ultimate NES Remix. Both are ports of Wii U games, with Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World adding these auto-runner levels with Poochie, and Ultimate NES Remix basically being a best-of title of NES Remix 1 and 2. Obviously, I'd like the original versions playable on Switch, but with all the content from the 3DS remixes. A Link Between Worlds definitely doesn't need a Switch port. In fact, I'd much prefer a new 2D Zelda title entirely, but A Link Between Worlds is one of the best Zelda games of all time, so I'm not opposed to a Switch version. Now, Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance technically is already on Switch, but I'm never going to be able to play it because I refuse to buy a cloud version of a 3DS title. Please, Square Enix, I beg of you, please release actual versions of the Kingdom Hearts games on Switch. If you do, I'll never badmouth you again. Please. Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D is definitely the definitive version of the game, but it's at a much lower resolution and 30 FPS. Having a Switch version of Returns would give them an excuse to make the definitive version of the game. A Push Mode collection, please, and thank you, as well as Rhythm Heaven Megamix. I'd rather have an original Rhythm Heaven for Switch, but Megamix is so good that I wouldn't mind it that much. And yeah, I think I got all my 3DS games I want to see on Switch out of my system. I'll see you next time, and hopefully next time I'll come up with an incredibly iconic catchphrase to end videos with. Bye!